Hey Sania, how are you?
I'm good, Michael. How's it going?
Things are good. Yeah, things are really good. Are you you're currently in New York still?
Yes, I'm very much in New York. Luminous has an office in New York as well as LA, where my business partner works out of. But yeah, I'm pretty much in New York on the Upper East Side.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about Luminous. I want to tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, and about Luminous, and maybe what was the genesis of Luminous?
Absolutely. So, LuminouStudios is a full service video production company. We say we do cool, clever, and colorful videos. Essentially, we like to do a lot of videos that are in the lifestyle, technology realm. We do videos from the beginning to the end, which essentially means scripting, creative development, all the way up until production and post production. So, really, a one stop shop for video, I would say. We've done lots of social media marketing videos. We are experts at crowdfunding campaign videos. We do a lot of socially conscious content as well. And that's kind of a little bit of, I guess, what's up our alley most often. What else I can tell you? We have like quite a variety of clients. We've worked with bigger clients like Polaroid, Kodak, StoryCorps, and even recently Smithsonian. But we also, that's on the other side, that we've worked with about 50 to 75 different startups, and that have now become big. We used to work with Fiverr when they were really young, and now they're obviously a public company. But a lot of other startups and smaller companies in New York City and LA, and actually all around the world as well.
Wow, that's awesome. How did you get an LA office also? You're like bi-coastal, the
Yeah.
two big cities for video, and you have an office in both.
Yeah, so the best, I mean, the I backtrack a little bit to why this company works and why it is where it is at. It's essentially because my business partner Rima, her and I went to NYU together back in the day, and I'm not going to tell you how long ago, because then you'll know how old I am. But basically a while ago, and then we were making movies. We were making a lot of independent cinema, and what we realized during that process is that there's definitely a need for lots of cinematic content, but on a much smaller scale for smaller companies. So we wanted to bring our larger skill of filmmaking and storytelling to much shorter pieces of content that you don't need to have $1 million to access, that maybe a McDonald's commercial does. So how do you create commercial content while telling your story within a certain limited amount of budget or resources? So that was the genesis of LuminouStudios, and we started that 5 years ago. And that's around the same time that Rima had just moved to LA as well. So we had both worked in New York quite a bit, but we decided to have a bi-coastal company, given that LA has location-wise and otherwise its own quirks and its own style of videography that suits LA really well. So it kind of worked out in our favor, which is why now we're still bi-coastal. Initially, we started off with about 90% of our business being in New York and maybe 5 to 10% in LA. And now we kind of shoot bi-coastal 50-50. So, it's really great that the LA team is growing as well.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think like you get the best of both worlds. New York's got the kind of the hustle and the pace, and LA's got the
The beaches.
LA's got, well, look at the beaches. And I noticed because I lived in LA for a little while, it's like
Oh,
in LA you build your life around your job, and in New York you build your job around your life, or no, vice versa. In
no,
LA,
the vice versa.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In LA, you build your job around your life, and in New York, you build your life around your job. So
Yeah, it's kind of what I like to say. In LA, in New York, you get to from one place to the other. You commute for, you calculate every 12 to 30 minutes. Every single minute that you are on the subway, you're like calculating what time I get off.
yeah,
And in LA, you kind of book the same amount of time to find parking. So it's kind of we definitely have very distinct lifestyles.
yeah, sure.
But in terms of like, even during COVID now, it's been crazy because we didn't realize what a benefit it is to have an LA office, because when things were crazy here, we were still able to actually shoot some stuff out there.
Wow.
And now that things are, kind of going the other way around in the South and on the West, New York looks better and is having better protocols for filming and whatnot. So it's really allowing us to not be shy about where we are shooting and be able to fulfill needs and projects regardless of what's happening with the situation.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I have a question. So with most of the businesses that you work with, what are some of the challenges that you see them face with video that you guys help solve? Like, what are some of the big challenges?
Um, okay, so so there are lots of challenges, and of course it changes from company to company. But especially for younger companies, I would say the biggest challenges we've seen is being aware of the fact that they need video and not having the strategy of executing video in terms of what to do for video and then how to distribute it. Many times we figure out that people come to us with like, oh, I want to have a video, and then you want to put it up on Instagram. But then what? You know, what's your goal? What's the strategy? What's the marketing behind it? Are you going to put any marketing dollars? Is it essentially just a social media type of outlet video? What is your strategy behind the distribution of the video? For the younger companies, I feel like there's all those questions that need to be answered, so you can effectively use a tool like video to really go very far without spending a penny on it after that. So I feel like a little bit of marketing expertise in that regard tends to be the most challenges. With the bigger companies, it's the process. Like usually it's like there's so much bureaucracy, and you know there is so many things that you have to go through. So the creativity somewhere or the other kind of takes a back step. So many a time you have to fulfill so many criteria that you can't just take an idea and run with it, which then you can do with like younger companies, because you know they have a tighter budget and they have two co-founders you're dealing with, and it's just easier to produce content that's more effective and creative and engaging.
Yeah, that's awesome. With you personally, like, what is your, I guess, favorite thing to do? Are you more into editing, behind the camera? Do you like planning the jobs? Like, what is your, like, what do you really like to do at the end of the day?
So the best thing that I like about my job would be when I'm on set, when I'm actually producing something, when you are creating, you have built a script around what the needs are and what you want to communicate and what the story is, and then you're actually executing and filming it, and you're actually, you know, trying to decide that if there is a shadow on this side of the product and a light on the other, what is the impact that it's going to create on the larger storytelling of this brand? And making those decisions and getting creative with those choices in order to put forward the message most effectively is really what helps me get up in the morning. So COVID has been a really tough time to not be able to be on sets that often, and you know, discover new stories and tell new you know, have new sorts of content out there. But yeah, that's my most favorite part, just being on set really, and collaborating with my team. I have amazing cinematographers and editors and gaffers and grips I work with on a regular basis. Some I've been working with over a decade. Some I used to work with on feature films, and now they are doing commercial content with me. So we speak the same language. So the end result ends up being really, really effective. So yeah, I just like collaborating and working on sets.
Yeah, yeah. I think you touched on something interesting. I think it's good for all of us once in a while to just kind of like take in the moment, because like you said, like things can change. Like I know there's probably been only a few times in my life though, like over the last couple of years, where I'm just kind of standing there and I'm like, oh, just take this in, you know, like you're
Yeah.
doing production, or you're in this cool city that you get to work in today, or whatever it is. Like it's nice when that moment comes and you kind of like step outside of yourself and you're like, let me take this in. And to, you know, to your point, like now, like production's tough. Like it's, you know, it's tough
Yeah.
to travel now and do production, and who knows what the next 6 to 12 months are going to look like. And
Yeah.
I feel positive about it, but you just never know. So I think it's cool that you kind of understood like that you love production, and I'm sure you're like just like ready to get back to it,
Like,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also like, you know, but I mean at the same time, this time has also opened our eyes up to the need for I mean, you always need to innovate, right? With technology related things that we do. Video changes all the time. Almost everything related to marketing changes like on a 6 month basis, if not sooner. But it's really helped us kind of like, you know, all the other transitions and tangents we are making into, okay, how can we if marketing budgets are getting cut because of COVID, how can we still communicate? How can people still reach their audiences within limited resources, even more limited resources than they had before? So that's why recently we did a campaign where we are offering a lot of the younger companies $99 per video, social media marketing videos, which is kind of for the kind of quality we provide, potentially like a 90% discount to like what we've done in the past almost. So
Yeah.
so the reason kind of what that does on our end is that really encourages us to like really get creative and really work with like the essence of what you're trying to tell and take out all the fluff from it, take out all the beautiful things and just get to the core and get to the story and just be like, this is my point. How can I tell in 15 seconds? Because that's all I got and that's the budget for it, and just, shoot it out there. So I would say definitely it's encouraged creativity. Even in animation videos that we've been doing, like it's kind of the same storytelling, but now you suddenly feel like you have the whole world, because with animation, you can kind of show anything. you just don't have the live action aspect of it, with the human aspect of it that animations tend to lose. But apart from that, you kind of have an explainer on almost every topic that is easily digestible through just digital content.
Wow. So that's something I saw in one of your emails that got sent out. So you're offering, for the most part, like a flat rate, almost like a product version of what you guys do right now, to companies that are looking for content because of the situation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you said the product version of it. One thing with, service industry businesses is the hardest thing is to convert your service into a product. And it's also the most effective thing, because so many of our videos are so customized, have always been customized to each story, to each brand, and to each product. It was a challenge to figure out how do we get the same quality for like such tight budgets. And I think we've come up with a system. There's a lot of systems in place. There's a lot of like custom forms in place that the client needs to fill out. But essentially, with a $10 minimum on the videos, you get $99 per social media video, and that includes customized copy. That includes if you have any original photos of the product or any content that you want to send over to us, and then we can put that together into an effective marketing video, then that's kind of the package.
Yeah, it's genius, because you're right. Like, if you look at like 99% of the things that you buy on a daily basis, that everyone buys, you see the product, you see the price, you see what you're getting, and then you make a decision, right?
Yeah.
Very, very rarely, like for instance, like when you go out to dinner, like the waiter doesn't come over and say, okay, well, you want the broccoli, olives, and onions on your pizza. Let me be right back and find out how much it's going to be, and then come back,
Yeah.
and you're like, and
So
he's like,
true.
oh, it's $24, and you're like, okay, well, you know what, I can't afford that. Maybe just lose the broccoli and we'll work with the olives and the like. It's just
Yeah.
it's such an unnatural, like in my opinion, process of pricing to go back and forth like we do, right, with our sales cycles in the service business.
Exactly.
And honestly, then you get to that third or fourth meeting, and you're building up all this value, and you're gonna work with this company, and then it comes time to submit the proposal, and it's just like $20,000 over what they thought it was going to be. And it's just,
Yeah.
and I think to alleviate that by saying, look, we sell $99 videos or $500 videos or $1,000 videos, and then put the work up front to like predetermine the pricing. I think it's a very smart, fast, efficient model. I actually had a brand a year or two ago called Digi, and that's what we did. We did like for $3.99 you got three 30-second videos a month, and we had all the templates already created, and they would just pick one, and then we would customize the copy, the colors, the logo, and some of the creative from stock, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people bought it like that. Like they would be like,
Yeah.
oh, $400, I'll take 3 right now. So a smart move on your part. How's that been going? What's been the response in the market to that?
Yeah, so we had about 3 of those deals out there. One for a package for social media content, one for animation videos, and one for just kind of stock footage related brand stories, so people like voiceover driven content. And honestly, the animation and the social media videos have really taken off. It's been a conversation starter really, in terms of like really understanding, figuring out who the new companies are who normally would look at our price points and shy away to even send a quick email. But now they're all kind of reaching out and wanting to know about this deal. Somehow, because of the way social media has also been such a big part in companies that are product focused more than anything, they really see the value in the $99 deal because it essentially gives them so much footage and flexibility, and with the same exact copy they can just go ahead and change a few things up and create so much more content as well. So we've seen some really good responses, and the videos we've been creating so far have been quite effective for the clients as well. So we hope to continue that beyond COVID and kind of see where we take that as well.
So I have a question because you just kind of inspired something. Because I have a pretty deep background in paid media advertising. I'm not sure if you guys have thought of this, but you immediately made me think like, wow, this could be really effective when you need to tweak videos towards a certain targeted audience. Meaning, let's say we work on a video campaign for paid media and we want to push that campaign out to, housewives between, 40 and 50 years old in Boston. But we also want to hit Dallas, and we also want to hit New York, and we want to hit LA, and we want to hit Toronto. You would want to kind of slightly change that ad creative to be more responsive and receptive to that target audience. Have you guys had anyone approach you about that yet, or is that something on your radar?
No one actually has been smart enough to approach us with that. So kudos to you. That's a brilliant idea. Funny enough, I used to do exactly that when I worked like 10 years ago at this company called LuminouStudios. I was an editor, and we used to, in a very different sort of a way, there's a lot of infomercials, right? Infomercials about a pillow or a new product that's out there. There's a 30-minute infomercials. Those go out on different markets for distribution as spots. For each market, they change up the phone numbers and they change up some basic information in terms of who is actually, which city or which district it's being viewed at. So what you're saying is the kind of similar thing, except for actually the creative. Is there a way to actually change and reflect the target demographic possibly, and what their choices are in the actual content? And this is something that you and I've talked about once back in the day about data, like essentially, data being a big factor in deciding what creative choices you're making within a script. So if someone's having coffee or versus someone's having tea, is that something that can change whether it's in Boston and New York? Absolutely. Is that relatively easy to do with something like this when it's all post-production related? Completely. Much easier than you would normally do for a bigger live action piece, simply because you have the flexibility of switching shots out.
Yeah. So then
I think that's a great idea. We should talk about that.
We should, yeah. So then your play becomes, not only can you approach brands, but you can approach social paid media agencies that don't do creative in-house with something like this and say, hey, we know this problem that you have where you have to tweak the message slightly or tweak the creative slightly towards and look, we do this like if it's a Latino demographic, if it's African American, Hispanic, Caucasian, like literally you're by theory, like the bigger agencies are supposed to like release creative that resonates with those communities to raise engagement rates. You want to raise viewership, you want to raise click-through rates, you want to raise everything up, and that's how you do it. You can also do it, like I said, like if you're promoting something baseball related or running related, you'd want to say like, hey Manhattan, we know we know what it's like to run near the west side, or hey Boston, we know what it's like when you get stuck on the north end. Or if so I think that's fascinating, moving forward, that you guys have that capability to sell packages like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now as you're speaking about it, it's definitely something that also has a very specific clientele who could really benefit from it, and there's definitely room to explore that out there. We have already done that for content, even live action, like larger pieces where they need it for like 2 different TV spots, where they need a TV spot in say Spanish and one in English, and then maybe one somewhere else. So you already do that quite a bit. Otherwise, it's about really bringing it down to even the creatives and even the the choices that are made in the storytelling. So yeah, I'd love for some client to come to me and like say that this is what we need for 10 different markets, and we can just dive right in.
Yeah,
And then you guys do a lot of things to do with data as well, which I've been, as you know very well, I've been itching to really like dive into, to really use for one of our videos, where we can really collect data from focus groups or otherwise, and really use that to direct what the creatives are, to direct the choices that we make in the scripts as well as in production. So that, I think, is just it's just going to elevate anything. Especially we do a lot of crowdfunding campaigns. We know what kind of people, exactly what the target demographic is for each product on a campaign like that. So data would only be able to serve us to really elevate that video and connect with the viewer, in the most engaging fashion.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had a customer that we were pitching Gravidy to, and the talk turned towards using Gravidy to. And he was like, "Oh, this would be great. We could use this to figure out how the script for the sequel will look." And I was like, almost like, "Whoa!" Like, like I don't know if I planned it for that. Like, because like there's this part of me inside that has like this artistic integrity where it's like, I believe in the purity of a story being told from the storyteller, from the screenplay writer. But then I was like, oh, well, yeah, it also makes sense to make the script work and move in a way that kind of creates revenue. So there's this like conflicting, like, and then I realized they're doing that anyway. So it has nothing to do.
Anyway. I mean, especially, I mean, you mentioned digital marketing earlier. Like, I think like just in terms of like, for sure A/B testing, for just the way you test the landing page, just starting really to like think of video as like a way to test and then recreate the content that's working in while adding new offers to it or whatnot. I think I really want to see how people can possibly use it for just testing out and figuring out what's connecting and then reinvesting into that.
Yeah, it's a smart move. So I have a difficult question for you.
Okay.
I have two questions left on my list, which doesn't exist anywhere. It's just in my head. But,
awesome.
Okay, but this one's going to be difficult, so you're going to have to answer it on the fly. What do you find more important in video, right? Access or quality, right? That's like a interesting question, and I'm curious on
I
your.
hate it. I hate the question. Next
Because,
question.
yeah, I think we all know the answer, right? But again, like I always think about this, like quality is what creates that Super Bowl commercial or that amazing Adidas commercial or Nike or whatever. I associate it with sports, but also like, it could be Revlon or whatever. But access is equally important because small businesses or startups or, the Harry's Razors or the Warby Parkers of today that are not big yet still need access, right, in order to grow their companies. So it's like a really tough question. So you don't have to pick one, but can you speak a little bit on each?
Absolutely. I mean, you like nailed it in terms of the challenge that we have as we were growing Luminous over the last 4 or 5 years, is that, so we come from a place where quality is king. We come from a mentality where, if you produce good quality content, it will resonate with the viewer and it would connect and it would tell a good story. That's something that, when you're filmmaking or whatnot, that's where our mindset was. Over the last few years, after the way, since YouTube started, or since, really user-generated content started, since things started going viral as such, what that has done is that like quality is taken a complete back step. And people are willing to watch a lot more content that is more geared towards their specific likes and what they're looking for, regardless of the quality. And that's something, to be honest, we've had to come to terms with, because you essentially can create that content on a fly. You can create content like that with much smaller budgets. You don't need a professional company, to be honest, to create a lot of content that is really, that's more, let's say, thought-provoking than actually reflecting a much higher quality. Now, mind you, of course, quality is reflected even in scripting and the concept and whatnot. But when I'm thinking of quality, I mean, like that's I'm thinking of what clients can actually have to spend dollars on, what they have to spend some money on in order to get a great location, a great camera, whatever have you. So I really don't think, and I'm glad you told me to not pick one of them because I can't. We have definitely started to cater. We've always catered to quality. We still believe we are catering to quality, but we have definitely opened our minds and arms out to to understand the younger client and realize what they want, and that's why these offers, that's why these trying to shrink it down to the basic, to the minimum, to how can I give you access to be seen on a particular platform within whatever your limits are, while whatever my business model is, and I can how can I tweak that to make that work. So honestly, for us right now, it's very much 50-50. We create most of our higher budget projects with all of the same zest and things that go within them, but we continuously try to get creative with younger clients again who want to create content regardless of what their budgets are.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year towards the end of the year when companies start looking at their budgets and what they spent and what they saved because of remote working and cutting production. I'm like almost, I don't want to say I'm like worried, but it's like they're going to be like, like, oh, we're still selling the same amount, but yet X, Y, and Z are no longer costing us money. So it's going to be an interesting fourth quarter for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's already been a little like, because the amount of, like, even within a sales cycle, right? It's funny, our budgets have slashed down, but the length of the sales cycle remains the same. It's still, you're still kind of investing the same amount of time and energy and creativity into creating a content that is for that's for $1,000 as opposed to for $5,000. So it's just it's a very interesting place. But the goal is for all of us to, including the companies that have shown faith with us in the past, to take them together at this time and like see through till we get to a time when we're back to really, really creating high level content.
Yeah, and creating like without limit, right? Limit can be cool. Like limits are cool because it opens up a pathway to a new type of creativity. But I think ideally as creatives, we don't want to feel limited to like, remote or stock, or we just want to create. So I feel the last question here.
Yeah.
And if you haven't guessed what it is, it's pretty obvious. So what do you think is the future of video? Like, what is your take on where this is going, where creative's going from your perspective?
So I mean, I would say video as a category itself is just so broad. So there are definitely how I would answer that question is that there's definitely elements of video that are taking off in a historical way. Few of them, because of the number of times they'll have asked us this. The three things that come to mind, that the elements within video that are going to transform what kind of content we're even creating or consuming is, one of them is, you kind of touched upon it with access, but user generated content. I feel like with COVID and just with what's happening and just with the sheer way things have been going and how things need to be mobile friendly as well, whether shooting as well as viewing, I feel like user generated content is going to really take off. Primarily because due to this time, everyone who's advertising, whether it's Nike or whether it's the coffee shop next door, everyone's using a lot of user-generated content creatively in order to put their message forward and showcase their customers. Once they start seeing success with that, I feel like beyond COVID, even when things go to normal, they're going to want to still use the same skill set because that still has limited resources, but the same effect. So I feel like UGC is going to be great. It's going to be something that's taking off. We should be able to and ready to shoot on our phones and figure a way to do that. In fact, one of our packages is also about, if you just want phone specifically content that is pure UGC, ship us your products. We ship them to 10 different customers that we then cast. And then those 10 customers shoot this content on their cell phone, send it back to us, and then we put that story together after giving them some direction. So I feel like that's a big thing. Interactive video, which you guys are so great at. I feel like every time I mention that, more often than not, I at least get a reaction, which is telling me that it's something that at least people are thinking of. And I think I've gotten, from like the hospitality industry, as well as like hospitals and clients related to larger, like clients more kind of who have larger social networks as well. They are looking to constantly put together like things that are form related, PDF related, information related, but they're all used to like long content, long written content, and they're looking to convert that into video. For them, interactive video works just as great as for any of the other clients. So I feel like that's also something that I want to work on a lot. And then the third one is, I think, data. I think with digital marketing kind of just never stopping, with the amount people are focused on digital sales and reaching your audience either through paid digital or through unpaid digital. I feel like if video is going to break through, like that's where video is viewed the most. So that is kind of its new house. I don't even think it's TV anymore. So I feel like those are the three elements that one has to be on the lookout for and see how those play out in the future.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts there. I think
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. All right, we'll wrap it up. So where can people find more about you or about your company? Where can they learn more about what you guys do at Luminous?
Absolutely. So the website is LuminouStudios.com, and it's Luminous Studios with a common S between Luminous and Studios. You can just write to us on our website. All our emails are on it. You can find me on Instagram, or you can just write to me at Sania@LuminouStudios.com. And yeah, we're always reachable and here to talk whoever wants to.
Awesome. Thanks, Sania. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Absolutely.